obviously came in the worst job market ever in 2024. Don't be in this assumption that things are going to be okay when you land. Just start now.
I got around 10 interview calls.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'd applied from the interviews I got, maybe five or six of them from a referral, and the rest were cold applying.
I have hired bunch of product managers and business analysts, and like to me, this is impressive. Even though you didn't have like work experience.
I wrote my script and I automatically sent messages to like 400 people asking for a referral.
I could see now why you got so many interview calls because you've like very strategically planned your keywords.
Yeah, I mass applied, like I said, probably 700, 800 applications.
When did the Coinbase happen? Before we dive into all the strategies and stories that we're going to discuss in this podcast, let me ask you this. Do you have a clear job hunting strategy to get an internship or a full-time job? Most people don't, and it's costing them opportunities. I've helped over 1100 students with their strategies through my ultimate job hunting course.
And trust me, I'm not even kidding. I could see so many recruiters viewing my profile.
And it's been the best investment I've ever made.
The content is incredibly practical, filled with tips and strategies that make you stand out to recruiters.
It was one of the best courses that I have done till date.
This course covers everything that you need to stand out. You will get ultimate resume course, you will get ultimate LinkedIn course, networking strategy, access to 1100 plus job seekers for support, and personal support from me through WhatsApp group. I will walk you through every single step that you need with real examples and the tools that will give you an edge. I don't want you to miss any other opportunity to land your next job or an internship. So check the link in the description. And now I will let you enjoy the podcast. Thank you, Aardhya, for doing this. I am excited. Also, thank you for staying persistent, because I know I get very busy and life gets in way, but you're like, I'm glad you kept following up, and thank you for reaching out to wanting to share your journey and help others. So before we get into the story, let's do quick intro. Who are you? When did you come to United States? What are you studying? And then like, where are you going to start your internship?
Yeah, hi Yudi. Thanks for having me on as well. Um, my name's Aardhya, and I am currently doing my master's degree from Carnegie Mellon University, and I'm studying information systems management. I finished my bachelor's of engineering in computer engineering from University of Mumbai, Thirdumal Shani Engineering College, whoever's from Mumbai.
Yes,
And
I'm from
I,
Mumbai. TSEC. We
yeah,
call it TSEC. I don't know if it's still good.
TSEC. It
Yeah.
is still called TSEC, yeah. And yeah, I got here August 2024.
Mm,
And currently I'm gonna intern at Coinbase as a product manager intern of summer 2025.
nice. So you're gonna have like few bitcoins in your wallet now after this internship.
Yeah, hopefully.
Amazing. I don't know. This is a fun fact. I actually did 2 days in Thermal. So when
Oh.
I was doing my engineering in IT, I had gotten an admit from Thermal as well. I started there for 2 days, and then I was really hoping that I can get into DJ Sangvi. And then
Hmm.
for the admission round two is when I got into it, because we were diploma students. So we get directly into second year. So then I got DJ Sangvi, and then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go to DJ. But if I wouldn't have, I would have been in Thermal. So I love the campus as well. But anyway, that's a fun story. Did you have any work experience before coming to United States?
No, I did not. But I had two internships. One as a product manager intern and one as a business analyst intern at Mahindra. I don't know how much that would help in the US because a lot of people don't know Mahindra.
Hmm.
But other than that, I was also one of the founding members of a education startup, which used to train grade 6 to grade 12 students on Model United Nations and soft skills.
Hmm.
Um, so I presented that accordingly in my resume as well, which I think probably ended up helping me the most.
Hmm. Got it. Great. And what I like is that you obviously came in the worst job market ever in 2024, and and you ended up getting a product management internship, which is extremely hard, especially when you don't have any product work experience. So
Yeah.
I think this will be a very interesting journey to explore. Before we get into how, when did you start applying? Maybe let's start with the timeline. Like when was so you landed in August to 2024.
Yeah.
When did you start applying?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't as prepared as I should have been. Um, I probably started applying in October, which isn't too late, but it's not as early as you should be.
Would you, now looking back again, it's been a year since you've been to United States, or almost a year, uh, people who are planning to come in fall 2025, would you recommend them to start as soon as they come?
Oh yeah, most definitely. And that's something you have recommended in many of your podcasts as well.
Yeah,
So,
so starting early, that is one
yeah,
of the big thing. Again, I don't know if you know this or not, but I have something called Ultimate Job Hunting Accelerator
yeah,
program. Yeah, and that is one thing that I teach, and I tell people that, especially now, this fall 2025 batch is coming, and we have 200 plus people who are planning to come, different university,
mm,
Oregon State and Minnesota, and some are in CMU, some are in Purdue. And I've been telling them, like, look, you have 3 months, you can change the game before you
yeah,
land. Don't be in this assumption that things are going to be okay when you land. Just start now. So 100% agree. But in your case, you started in, like, you obviously felt overwhelmed, you realized like what it takes to get a job, so you started working on bettering your profile and resume, and then started your application process in October. Another thing that I also probably we should address is brand name. You kind of hinted this also. CMU. People might think that, oh, just he's probably from CMU, that's why he got this internship. Of course he's from CMU, that's why, but
yeah.
is how true is this? Like, how true is this brand value helping get an internship? Like, did it happen because you were in CMU and got the internship, or does
Yeah.
everybody in CMU get the internship?
Yeah, I have friends who worked in India for 2, 3 years who are doing like an unpaid internship, and they are from CMU.
Mm,
I think especially in this market, it doesn't matter that much, like, how smart you are, how much great experience you have. That matters, but it's so much about how you present yourself. It's so much about how you talk. It's so much about like the small things. Are you making a connection with your interviewer or with the person at the career fair? Are you well groomed? Are you well dressed? Like, are you presenting yourself well?
mm,
Um, and you have to be working extremely hard regardless of your university. Because, like I mentioned, I have friends who haven't got an internship yet and they are from CMU and they have work experience, and I don't.
mm,
So you have to be, like I mentioned, I applied to like 700, 800 internships as well.
mm.
And
So
yeah,
what I'm summarizing this is that it's not just the brand name that's going to get you an internship call.
yeah, 100%, 100%.
Okay, cool. Hey, before we move on to the next part of the video, I want to quickly talk about our newsletter community, which you can be part of absolutely free. We are now going strong and we have more than 40,000 people in our newsletter community. So imagine 40,000 people are receiving my newsletter every single week, twice a week, where I break down all of the stories that we did and make it a valuable resource for you. So if you're someone who doesn't have time to watch this and you just want to get an email with all of the resources into an email, that is the place to be. I'll put the link in the description. I'll give you some example. This is the one for Tanvi, where how she got 2 co-ops and she paid off her entire master's fees. This is an example of Maya, where she got 3 co-ops and she paid off her fees plus a little bit of savings. Here is an example of Sahil, who got his green card in 3 years. Here is an example where we shared a bunch of resources on job hunting. So I promise this is going to be valuable resource for you, and it doesn't cost you anything. If you want to be part of our newsletter community, link will be in the description, or you can go to link.udj.com/newsletter. This is the URL. And now I'll let you enjoy the video. All right, let's start with now that you have established that I want to be a product person. You understood that I need to work on my resume and etc. What is the first step you started working on for your application process? Because you started in October, but before that, you must have to do something to get
Yeah,
started. So, what are the things that you took care of before you started your application process?
yeah. If it's okay, quickly, just wanted to add on to the previous question that I have friends from other universities as well who have not gotten many internships, and like their whole batch isn't doing that well. So someone who's putting in a lot of effort from a really good brand name university versus someone who's putting in a lot of effort from a uni which is not as well known, you will probably see a difference.
Mm,
Yeah, jumping back to the question of how I, started my application, the number one thing is going to be your resume.
mm,
Um, your resume is going to be a reflection of you. That was the number one thing I started working on. And how I did that was, well, by, making a folder and messaging a bunch of seniors for their resumes. And a lot of people don't like sharing their resumes because of privacy reasons, which I realized after coming here,
mm,
which makes sense. But um, even the resumes of people who aren't from the role or the field you want to apply to ends up being really helpful because you learn a lot, especially not being from the US, about the format that is accepted here.
mm,
About how you should phrase your dot points, what things you should include in your resume, like coursework, how many lines do you want to include? Just one line of coursework, two lines of coursework.
mm,
Um, how long should each bullet point be? How many projects should you include? And obviously, it's much better if you look at the resumes of seniors um, who are in the role you want to be applying for. And that is the thing which helped me the most. And not people from your batch who are applying for similar roles, people who have gotten, in my case, product management internships or full-time jobs. Um, Getting resume consultations from them is something which helped me the most.
mm,
Um, yeah, and I phrased my resume accordingly. Maybe we'll dive deep on this later, but I realized things like, at least for non-technical roles, your projects probably aren't going to be as important as the your work ex, when even if that's internships. And if you're
mm,
going to be applying for non-tech roles, like, well, non-complete tech roles like PM, IT, project manager, etc. Yeah, your internships and all need to be highlighted a lot more than the project you've done.
mm.
Um,
And again,
uh,
sorry, I'm breaking down your strategy. So, first thing you realized is okay, resume is going to be most important. And the way I like it, the way you built your resume is you collected people who are ideally doing the role that you want to do. So, you reached out to a bunch of product managers who were from CMU because it's an easy common thread. And then you said, like, hey, either send me your resume or help me kind of build a resume. So that is kind of how, based on multiple iteration, you kind of got to your final product. Maybe if someone were to watch this and like, hey, this person is planning to come to CMU, how would you recommend them that this is how they should approach the seniors if they want to get resume help or just build connection? What is that cold message template that you would give them?
mm, um, Start off with a small greeting. Um, and don't keep your message too long, but make it clear from the first sentence who you are and what you need help with. Um, but in my opinion, at least for me, using words like please and these ways to be polite gives the other person an incentive to want to get back to you because people are so busy with their own daily lives. Um, but um, I'm an undergrad student from Uni of Mumbai. Like, highlight whatever common links you might have. Um, and I'm in the same position that you were last year, coming to CMU for this course. Um, I'm currently building my resume. Could you please give me a few tips or share your resume, as will really help me maybe get to the same place that you are.
Hmm.
Um, Highlighting the common things that you guys might have. Um, and also, this, I don't know how great this tip is, but giving someone an incentive to help you, like by making it seem like not that you're needy, but just putting yourself out there, like not be afraid to show vulnerability in the sense that you need the help and that you could really benefit from the help.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Nice. Okay. You reached out, you built a resume. So based on all the feedback that you probably received and the resumes that you've seen, you probably created your final product, and you have iterated that over 700 plus jobs that you've applied, and obviously you got 10 plus interviews because of that. So maybe we can either take a look at your resume, or you can share like what in your resume you've implemented, so then people can also start to implement that in their resume.
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to share my resume with everyone.
Nice. Okay, cool. So if you can share your screen, that'll be great.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just quickly walk through my resume. Um, at the top, you're going to have your name, you're going to have your location, your phone number, and your email, your LinkedIn profile, my phone number and email, which I've blurred. And additionally, if you have a portfolio website that you've created, which is just either a personal website or a website highlighting your product skills and projects, you can put that as well in this line.
Mm.
Um, I used to not put a bit of a like a summary for myself, but after speaking to a few people, it seemed like it could help. I don't think it plays a big difference overall, especially for freshers, whether you put it or not. Um, but yeah, I put it in case a recruiter wants to get a quick summary of what I've done.
Nice.
Um, Next, firstly, is the education section, and especially for people who don't have much work experience, and if you're currently studying, this is a section which needs to go first. So you highlight your university name and your degree, and then it's always advisable to put the coursework you've undertaken, especially coursework which is relevant to the role that you're applying for.
Mm. So
I also, yeah.
I'm guessing in the coursework also, like you're very strategic because you're not putting every single coursework. Like you mentioned, you reviewed like bunch of positions, and then you only looked for this common keywords. That is what you're putting.
Most definitely, yeah. And as you can see in my coursework as well, it starts with product management. And the course was actually called Product Management Essentials. But in my experience and what I've seen from seniors, that you don't need to put the full name
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
course. The point needs to get across of what you've studied.
Mm.
And I was also a teaching assistant for 3 courses, so I decided to put that here as well. Now, I know that is not a very common strategy because people put this in a different section. And same with my undergrad, I was a vice president of a road track club in my college, which I also
Mm.
decided to put it here, which people once again do in different sections. But, as you'll see through the rest of my resume sections, I didn't have space I could put it anywhere else. And I think putting it this way got my point across quite well in a very summarized way.
Mm.
Um, So just my courses and my leadership position with my undergrad as well. And then what you should put next is your skills section.
Mm.
Um, Unless you have many years of work experience, you can put your work experience before. But for most people, up to 2, 3 years of work experience, it's going to be best to put your skills section. And for product managers, unlike SDEs, you don't need to showcase that many tools and programming skills that you have. Um, as you can see, the tools that I have listed aren't tools which are very, difficult to use per se, but um, you don't need to have that many tools. You're not going to use all that many tools as a PM. But
Yeah.
the basic ones for project management and which helps you like wireframe, like Figma,
Mm.
Miro, make sure you have those ones up. Slack, Confluence for communication.
Mm.
And it's also good to have a programming section in your skills to show, especially if you are technical, that you do have those technical skills and you can work with engineering teams as well.
Mm.
Moving on to the work experience part of my resume. Um, my
So
kind
sorry,
of
before you jump, I want to say, I mean, obviously, I was reading through this. I feel, I strongly feel the work experience part that you're gonna walk through is the meat of your resume, because I see the numbers. Like, I have hired bunch of product managers and business analysts, and like to me, this is impressive. Even though you didn't have like work experience. So I'm like curious to see what you're gonna say, but it already is driving my focus to like, okay, numbers, percentage, revenue, like dollar. So I'm like, okay, like I mean, now I know the story, but if I didn't, I would be like very impressed just looking at those, and I would be like, okay, I'm more interested to spend more time on the resume. Anyway, go for it.
Yeah, so just moving on to my work experience, and at the top in my most recent experience was probably me being the founding member of Takis Training, and especially as someone going for product manager roles, any co-founding experience you might have, founding experience you might have goes a long way because
Mm.
it shows that you know how to own a product end to end and grow it 0 to 1. And that is something which helped me a lot in my interviews. Um, so including numbers and quantifying your output is very important. So how many people I've worked with, 15 plus, writing that down. Initially, we just had one client school under us, and then we grew that to 7 schools over the course
Mm.
of 4 years. So quantifying that and a 400% revenue growth. Because if you have $5,000 revenue and then you grow to like 25,000, so quantifying that in a percentage, because it does also make it look more impressive than it um
Yeah,
And yeah, just
100%.
just quantifying and brainstorming what are the different things that you can quantify. Nowadays, you can use GPT for that. You can tell it your experience and tell me, okay, well, what do you think are the things I can quantify if you're having a difficult time thinking of it yourself?
Mm.
Um, and we ended up giving soft skills and MUN trainings to more than 500 students. So making sure that that is written here.
Mm. Yeah.
How many hours of training we gave, how many numbers of sessions. All of it's probably not important. My resume is not perfect, but these things definitely help me a lot. And especially putting metrics which are important as a PM, such as what was your service satisfaction rate? Did you speak with stakeholders and clients? Yes. Well, write that down. Feedback loops. Did I do that? Yes. Write that down. Did I conduct user interviews to see where we can improve? Yes. Write that down. Um, a PM's role also involves marketing, so writing that down as well. How many?
And if I like sorry, I want to like stop. I
No,
mean,
of
I
course.
just wanted to add to what you're saying. Looking at this, it doesn't it tells me, it not only just tells me what you did, but also because of what you did, what was the outcome of it, what was the impact of it, what was the accomplishment. And that is also game changer, especially for product manager, because they need to be able to articulate what is the impact of what we are doing versus what you're just doing. Like, don't just say led cross functional team. Because you led it, what happened? So in your case, like if you see the first bullet point, you led it, and because of that you grew the client from 1 to 7, and because of that you grew the revenue from this to this. So there is a clear impact statement. Anyway, I just wanted to help people understand why this is a good resume.
Yeah, and initially in my earlier drafts, maybe my points weren't drafted as well, but I made many iterations, maybe 20 different resumes.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, just keep on iterating your resume. Um, yeah, just moving on to my other internships that I had. Once again, highlighting the things which were most relevant
Mm.
to the roles I'm applying for. So, as a PM, conducting market research, comparative analysis is something you go for. So, these are the keywords that you're putting in and phrasing it in a good way. So, benchmarking latest trends, doing the competitor and market research, which is also a job of a PM. Um, and yeah, as Yudi mentioned, just quantifying my output.
Mm.
So, all right, maybe I collaborated with an engineering team, the supply chain team,
Yeah,
and
and
different teams. So quantifying that.
you have bunch of keywords, but they are not just in the skill section. They're actually in your bullet points, and in a way it's the bullet points is making sense. So like you said, feature prioritization, go to market strategy, like those are typical product manager job description keywords, and you are weaving it into your into your resume. So that's great.
Yeah, that's very important. For a PM resume. to have the keywords, especially for a product manager. More than maybe cracking the interview, I think getting an interview, at least as an intern with no experience, is the most difficult part.
Mm.
Um, yeah, if I can quickly, skip up, I also decided to put a description for the companies I worked
I
at
like that.
because they're probably not as well known.
Mm.
Also in the skills section, a lot of a lot of batchmates I saw were doing something wrong, in my opinion, is that they were listing product skills. So they had written here above tools, maybe they had written like product, and
Yeah.
then they had written go-to-market strategy,
Yeah.
benchmarking, market research, and those are just words. Like that's not going to help you. It's just taking up valuable space in your resume.
Yes, 100% agree.
So instead of writing in the skills section, I decided to spread it out throughout my resume. Um, my internship at Mahindra and Mahindra was a bit more of a technical internship. I used SQL, the SEMrush tool, the Salesforce Studio tool, but I used it and I highlighted the product management related tasks that I did, which was gathering and categorizing the customer feedback, gathering the customer sentiment, working on optimizing marketing budgets. So you don't need to list down everything you've done, but make sure to list the most relevant things that you had done.
Mm.
After my work experience, I had my projects section, in which, as I mentioned, I don't think it's as important to highlight your projects as it is work experience. Definitely have projects. Projects is a good place for a PM to show your technical skills.
Mm.
Um, and I did that by, in my projects, talking about a research paper that I had published, a deep learning research paper that I had published in my undergrad. And I made sure to include the link for it as well. Um, I did that. I did the same thing with a technical project that I'd made in my undergrad. I also had worked on a capstone project with the company MSA Safety
Mm.
at Carnegie Mellon, and I made sure to include that in my projects as well.
Nice.
Um, and it ended up being a great talking point in my interviews.
Mm.
Lastly, just my awards and certifications that I might have. This is not as important, in my opinion, as a master's student. Um, Probably more important for PMs than technical folks, though. So I had the PSPO, the Scrum Product Owner certification, which I listed. I won a product case competition at CMU, and I also had won a hackathon in my undergrad. So,
Nice.
uh, yeah.
That was great. I think I could see now why you got so many interview calls, because you've like very strategically planned your keywords into the bullet points, and every single bullet point had some form of quantification, some form of way to show the outcome that you were producing versus just what you were doing as a responsibility. So love it. And also I love the fact that the resume, the projects are also has a link, so if it's adds more credibility than just like words. Highly recommend people to not put it in the skill section there, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Many people do this. I'm like, though I as a hiring manager, I review it and I always skip the skill section, because I'm like, everybody can
Mhm.
put something in that. I just by default go to the work experience to see, has this person done the work that I want them to do. So I love it. Thanks again for sharing this. How many interview calls did you get?
I got around 10 interview calls. Um,
Nice.
yeah, so I'd applied to, well, from the interviews I got, maybe five or six of them were from a referral, five of them were from a referral, and the rest were cold applying. But not all of my roles were product manager roles.
Mm.
Um, some of them were like IT PMO intern, one, and some of them were just project management interns.
Mm. Okay. And so you said some of them were referral. What kind of referral? How would you get this referral? Did you know these people, or was this a cold referral?
Yeah. Once again, I think this is an interesting aspect, at least in my story. So, well, firstly, basic things. I reached out to every single person I could reach out to, every single person I knew who I had even had a conversation with, who was working in any company, to be honest, which any company which has an internship. Um, whether that's my school friends whose siblings might be in the US who are working here. Um, and I also asked my parents to, just retrieve whoever they know who might be in the US. And that helped. It didn't really, help me with an internship, but it was a referral, whether that's for an internship or a full-time job in the future. So I think it's important for people who are coming here to, just squeeze whatever resource you have and to not feel ashamed. A lot of people don't like reaching out to people for whatever reason. They're ashamed to ask for help because it is a big help that you're asking for. Um, but yeah, reach out to people. And another big thing I did was I was in a Thadumal, my undergrad college's group chat, a WhatsApp group chat, which has people from all around the world because it's a global alumni group chat. And that had like 1,000 people in it. Um,
Mm.
and that included people who left India from Thadumal to go to the US like 30 years ago. So I basically made like a JavaScript and a Python script to extract all those WhatsApp numbers. So I had like 400 plus one numbers. Um, of people which I had a common link with, being from the same undergrad college, applying for an internship, looking for a full-time job, and all these people had went through the same thing. So I started off manually messaging each of them, but then I wrote my script and I automatically sent messages to like 400 people asking for a referral.
Mm.
And I didn't end up getting an internship offer out of it, but that really helped. Not just for my internship, it's going to help me a lot for my full time as well because now I have options to get referrals from Google, DoorDash, Oracle, like Amazon, any company, like so many companies. Um, and after I got my internship, I made sure to update all of these people. Whoever had replied to me, even saying that, oh, I'm sorry, I'm busy or whatever, I made sure to update them that, hey, I've gotten this internship at Coinbase. I'm happy to tell you. And
Mm.
a lot of them were happy, like they're invested in me now. They'll want to refer me for a full-time role.
Mm.
Um, so
Got
that's
it.
something,
So,
yeah.
sorry. So going back to how did you get so not none of them were warm referrals. All of them were cold, kind of coldish referral. So you tried this automation. You were able to get in touch with a lot of people. None of them helped you with the giving you the referral. So how did you get the referral?
Oh no, many of them did give me a referral.
Okay,
I just
and
didn't
it
end
was
up
just
getting like an
purely.
internship offer. I had like, one, two interviews, but I didn't
Hmm.
end up getting an offer, basically.
And then what about so one side is referral. You got few interviews, none of them turn into an offer. And then with the Coinbase and other, like you said, 10 interview calls, five
Yeah.
of them roughly through referral, five of them through cold application. And that was just you choosing normal resume, like you didn't modify it and you just kept applying and your resume got picked and you got interview calls. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mass applied, like I said, probably 700, 800 applications. And I think what went in my favor was the fact that most PM roles, the JDs, the job descriptions are very similar.
Hmm.
So I didn't need to, in my opinion, customize it as much.
Hmm. Got it. And was there any strategy that okay, maybe I'll apply within first 24 hours,
Oh, yeah.
within like something like that, or you just saw the position and you applied regardless?
Yeah, no, definitely. I made sure that I was applying to roles which have, well, I used to apply past 24 hours, go through the whole list on LinkedIn, go through the whole list on Glassdoor, and when I've exhausted that, click on the past 3 days, and then exhaust the list of applying to all those companies, then go past week. And then, especially in like the spring break when I have like holiday for a week, just repeating this process. Then I go to 1 month, whatever roles I might not have applied for.
Hmm.
Like, unfortunately or fortunately, but like I spent a majority time of my master's degree applying to internships.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that's something you kind of need to do if you want a good internship.
When did the Coinbase happen? Was this
Yeah.
second semester, first semester?
I got the offer in the second semester. So, quick story about how I got the Coinbase offer. I had a school friend who's currently doing an undergrad in the US, and just going on LinkedIn, I saw that her older sister works as a SD at Coinbase for a couple years. Like she was also a new grad, but got a SD role at Coinbase. And I thought, you know what, I should reach out to this old school friend. We hadn't spoken in a few years. Um, and then, maybe eventually I can reach out to her older sister and then everything. So that process got delayed a bit. I wasn't sure if Coinbase's listing would still be open, but I still called up my friend and, spoke to her for like an hour, even though we hadn't spoken for a couple years. And then at the end, I told her I'm looking for internships. I saw her sister works at Coinbase. She connected me with her sister. I spoke with her sister, and after a process of like 2 weeks or something, she referred me for the associate product manager intern role at Coinbase.
Hmm.
And um, I got through the first round of screening at Coinbase, which means then I got like a take-home assessment, which was a writing assessment, a product writing assessment, with simple questions like, "What's your favorite crypto product? How would you improve it?" Um, and one or two behavioral questions about my past experiences, and also one of those cognitive assessments, which are
Hmm.
like those gamified cognitive assessments. I gave those. I got a reject. This was in January that I got rejected from
Hmm.
the role at Coinbase I'd applied to with a referral. Then 2 months later in March, the recruiter reached out to me like, "Hey, we have a new opening, a product manager intern opening at Coinbase. And your profile seemed like a great fit. Would you like to interview for this position?" And I'm like, "Of course, yes." So I gave them a date, a week after I got the email, so I could fully spend the whole week preparing.
Hmm.
And I just had to give that one interview and spend the whole weekend, the days preparing product questions, behavioral questions, cryptocurrency, crypto blockchain questions. And
Hmm.
yeah.
Let's get into like how did you prepare for it? And you said like it was only one interview. Was that it, or was there multiple rounds?
Yeah, so the original role I'd applied for, the associate product manager intern, for which I got a reject, that was meant to have multiple rounds,
Yeah.
which was after the initial writing assessment and the cognitive test. I was meant to have a recruiter call and two 45-minute product interviews. One would be focused more on crypto, one would be focused more on product. But I think maybe it was like a late opening they had or something because I didn't see this role listed on their website.
Hmm.
So I think I kind of got fast-tracked in a way. I'm guessing they liked my resume and they liked the written assessment and the cognitive results that they had of me. Um, yeah, which is why I'm guessing I got skipped directly to the hiring manager interview.
Okay. What did the preparation look like? Like, how did you prepare? Was there any resources you used? How, like, because again, you probably intentionally thought that, okay, I'm going to at least take 1 week. In that one
Yeah.
week, you probably prepared a lot. Maybe that was not relevant. That probably not all of it was even asked to you, but how did you prepare for it?
Yeah. Well, for a product manager role, your internships, like product questions are extremely important. And one resource which I found commonly used among all seniors and everywhere across the internet was the Exponent YouTube channel. Um, and that is all I ended up using pretty much, other than a few articles that I just found from Google search, frameworks to frame my answer, etc. But the most helpful resource was the Exponent YouTube channel. And I prepared, extensive notes and brief notes about each sort of manager question, whether that's root cause analysis, analyzing trade-offs, product design. Um, how would you improve a product? What are certain flaws in a product? Questions like this. Yeah,
Mm.
built a framework, practiced with myself. Um, got a couple friends in the 1 week to do a couple product mock interviews with me. Um, yeah, just so I know how to speak when I go in the interview. And other than that, because mine was like a niche, as in like blockchain and crypto, I prepared a lot, at least higher level blockchain, crypto, what is it? What are the certain tools and techniques that are used? Um, and behavioral questions as well. Because, yeah, for internships, no matter what role it is, I think you need to prepare behavioral questions. Maybe not for big tech firms, because, they just do lead code and then you're in. For internships, at least. Um, but especially for non-tech roles, you need to prepare behavioral questions. You need to.
Yeah. What and then how was the hiring manager round interview? Was it like heavy like product based questions, or was it balance of product and some behavior? Because I would imagine hiring manager probably wants to know if you're a good fit for the team and the culture. But again, I'm curious to know what was your experience.
No, you're right. And this was kind of very surprising to me. My interview was like all behavioral, based on my resume.
Yeah.
Well, I answered it based on my resume, but yeah, pretty much all behavioral. And um, he told me at the start of the interview, we'll do a quick intro of you and of I, and then I'll ask you five questions about yourself. And that was the format of the interview. And um, I actually hadn't prepared behavioral that much because I was like, all right, it's a company like Coinbase. They're gonna ask me crypto. They're gonna ask me product. They're
Yeah.
not gonna ask me, tell me about a time. Like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you know, I was able to get past it because I'd prepared so much of behavioral questions for my other interviews and in general. And I think I'm good at making things up on the fly. But I even asked my interviewer at the end of the interview, like, hey, I was a bit surprised. Like, I thought you would ask me a lot more product questions. And then he told me that, well, I think through your answers and these questions, it also gave me an idea and a sense of how you would think about product management. Um, and, just if I can drop a quick tip for everyone, whether you're speaking to a recruiter in a career fair or whether it's an interviewer, what I always did and what I'd advise is to form some sort of a bond or a relationship, even if it's like a 10-minute conversation. And I made sure to do that in every single one of my interviews. So, go through their LinkedIn, what their experiences are, ask them, oh, how did you transition? And I did this with my Coinbase interview. How did you transition from um, doing a bachelor's in law to now becoming a product manager? You've worked your whole life in London, like just curious, how did you end up in New York? It's obviously very important to ask company specific, role specific questions as well. But in my opinion, these personal questions are very important. They always put a smile on the other person's face. And another thing, I always try to
Everybody
make the
likes
other
to talk about themselves. so
yeah.
so yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I try to make the other person laugh, even in the career fairs. And I think you can do that best by being yourself and not being too stressed out. Um, I asked my interviewer because he was British, what his favorite football team is, and it was Manchester United. And then I poked a bit of fun at that because they're not doing so well, and he was laughing and stuff. So I think, especially for Indian students, because English isn't our primary way of communication, like these soft skills go a long way, a very long
Mhm.
way.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Awesome. So obviously after that they gave you an offer and you're gonna start next week. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for you. Maybe we'll bring you back and share like how was the experience, and hopefully that converts into full time. So then you are like completely free and you can enjoy the CMU life and not worry about full time offer. But if you were to go back in time and start all over again your master's journey, what advice would you give yourself that this is how I would now, because you have seen it and how you've gotten it, what would you do differently?
Yeah. Biggest thing, start a while before coming here. Make sure your
Mhm.
resume is refined completely, speaking with seniors, fixing your resume, making it perfect. And the next thing is to be sure of what sort of roles you want to apply. And a strategy of how you want to apply. Like if you just want to focus on cold applying, if every 10 applications you want to send a recruiter email, how you want to apply, it'll save you a lot of confusion. Also, I'd just like to add knowing that it's going to be very difficult. It's even if you've worked in after your undergrad, just knowing it's going to be probably the most difficult time of your life. You're going to go through a lot mentally and emotionally, but keep pushing because it's all going to be worth it in the end.
Yeah, and I think people assume that it's gonna be. Sometimes people assume that because they're going to like CMU or Ivy League, that things are gonna be easy. But even those names are struggling, is in my opinion. So it's not like, don't come with that expectation. Come with an expectation that this is gonna be extremely hard. And if you get the job, then that's great. That's a cherry on cake. But
Yeah.
if coming with that expectation it's going to be easy, and then when you hit the reality, you're gonna like, it's going to be much harder. Again, Aradhya, thank you so much for doing this. I'm excited for you to start your Coinbase journey, but hopefully you don't forget us after getting like 100 Bitcoins. Just kidding. But I can't wait to bring you back until our next one.
Keep smiling and keep hustling.
Nice.